I'm convinced that every local church wants to do great outreach. They want to impact their community. And I think that there's sort of a process, an evolutionary process of growth that happens, at least in my experience as a pastor. And for many churches it begins, that first step in that process is what I call money and prayers. The churches want to give money and prayers. They want to pray for the world. They want to send money and missions. And so there's a mission field out there, and we send our money and we send our prayers, and oftentimes as far away as we can. And there's something wonderful about supporting world missions. Every church should do it. And every church I've ever served has done it. But when we think about giving our money and our prayers far away, one thing that can do is that can make us feel like, you know what? I don't have to share with people. I don't have to personally open my mouth and talk about Jesus. I don't have to engage people who are far from God. So this is a good starting point, and every church should keep doing this, but there's a next step in that evolutionary process, at least in the church I pastored went through, and that step was what I would call committee structure. We began to say we have to be strategic, to get a team of people who have a heart for outreach together and form a committee or a team doing outreach, missions, evangelism, call it what you want. So here's the church, the local church, and within that church there's all kinds of ministries. You know, there's men's, women's, nursery, children, it goes on, you can see it. And within that structure there's an outreach team or an evangelism team or a missions team or ministry or committee. And that's one of the many different groups. And here's the dilemma with this approach. If you say, that's the outreach team, that's the missions team, then the rest of the ministries will often say, well, they do the evangelism, they do the outreach, not us. And so all of a sudden this team is trying to invite people to come do their events, but they don't see it as their own project. And so to give an example of how this began to be a reality for us was we had a comedy night. We actually brought in a great Christian comedian. We wanted to reach our community. And this team advertised and invited all these ministries to come and be part of this great event, to use this opportunity to reach the community, to do outreach in a natural, fun way. The night of the event, the entire youth ministry group was off the campus doing a different event. They didn't even come. Another one of the ministries planned an event the same night on our campus. We thought, what's going on here? And then we realized they don't see this as their ministry of outreach. It's that committee's, and we'll come if we want to, and we probably won't. So we began to move to a new structure. We said, we're not going to have this team plan everything, but we're going to have our outreach become organic. Everything that happens in the church is part of what we all do. So all of a sudden we say, well, here's our church, here we are, and we have men's ministry, but they do outreach. Women's ministry, but they do outreach. Every ministry of the church has outreach engrafted into their cultural DNA. It's part of what they all do. So then you get a team together to plan a special event for the church. Who's the team? The leaders of all these ministries. They become a strategic outreach team because they influence all the ministries. So turn the clock ahead a year. We have another comedy show. We bring in another great Christian comedian, and it is a resounding success. It's huge, powerful. Lives are touched. Everyone's part of it. Why? Because everyone sees outreach as what they do. And when we planned this comedy night, the youth leader was part of the planning process, and they made sure every youth who could be there was there. And the women's ministry leader was there, and the women's ministry came and was part of that event. And it became this whole different approach. It became organic. Outreach is what we all do, not what one committee does. I'm absolutely convinced for your church that if you're giving money and prayers to world missions, that's a great thing to do. Keep doing it, but there's more. Bring strategic leaders together and even think about building a team, but move beyond that. Move the culture of outreach into every part of your church, every ministry. In the book, Organic Outreach for Ordinary Churches, there's an entire section that spells out how you can do this and build your church around this vision for outreach and make it natural, organic to all you do.